Hey everyone, RogueGold here, and today I want to talk about the Division universe at large. We got some recent information on an upcoming project within the Division, some news that was kind of cool, also kind of disappointing. It'll make more sense in a minute, but I figured it might be kind of an ideal time to bundle that with my other thoughts right now on the Division universe, because there's been a lot of discourse and conversation going on recently about it, and so I want to tackle some of that. This is going to be unscripted, so wish me luck. But if you like videos like these and you want to stay up to date on everything with the Division, consider clicking that subscribe button. I'd really appreciate it. But let's not waste time and get right to it. The recent news that happened, it was pretty funny. So I was sitting there the other day watching the Apple keynote event, which if you don't know is a yearly event that Apple does to showcase their new products, the new iPhone, whatever else they may be doing that year. And so I'm sitting there just chilling. I got some laundry going in the background. Tim Cook is on screen talking about the iPhone 15 Pro, and all of a sudden it launches into an ad and they're talking about the Division resurgence. And I was pretty much just straight up flabbergasted for like 15 seconds. I'm like, what world am I in that Apple is talking about the Division resurgence? Turns out that Ubisoft kind of partnered with Apple to promote this on this event because they're talking about how the iPhone 15 Pro has a lot of new AAA gaming capabilities, and they're talking about how the Division Resurgence is going to run really well on there. So it was a super cool crossover indeed. However, this spot also did come with some subsequent news that, general viewers of that wouldn't care about, but we know as Division fans, and that is a small but still, fully delay. We learned earlier in the year that Resurgence was going to have two phases of a regional beta this fall before the game's full release that was slated to be before the end of fall this year. But in this event, and they've since posted this online too, they will have that second phase of the regional beta, which will now include more regions before the end of 2023, but now the full launch of the game is expected in early 2024. Now on its own, honestly, I'm not that bothered by this, right? This ends up pushing the game out, maybe an extra 3 to 4 months. If they can get it to a better spot, then that's great. But as I'm sure many of you are well aware, it joins the recent delay trend within the Division universe at large, right? We learned just a few weeks ago that the Division 2's Year 5 seasons would now all be getting an extra month tacked onto them, and this inherently pushed out the launch date of the DLC that we were expecting from spring 2024 to summer 2024. We recently got news from the team at Red Storm about how the Division Heartland, after the closed beta, they've decided to keep working on development, and all they said was that we would get the next update for the game in 2024. And of course, now we have the delay with Resurgence to 2024. So look, I've said this before, and I will continue to say it until the end of time. I am perfectly okay with delays if it is needed in order to ensure the quality of a product and experience. All too often, games get released and they have tons of issues. The experience just clearly isn't ready. And so for anyone to complain about delays is often kind of baffling to me, because no doubt at some point in time, people have complained about the lack of quality within an experience, and that is what delays typically aim to improve. But what really sucks about delays within the Division universe, and especially all these ones lately, is that very, very frequently, they come with no new information. Right? And what I mean by that is that the majority of Division fans want to be very excited about all of these new things coming up, but they are given very little reason to be. Take the Division 2. People are really excited about this new DLC that is coming next year, but ever since, Year 5 Season 1 came out, we got an injection of new content that was great, but especially over these past 2 months, there's been very little to do in the game and not that much to talk about, and we're getting no new information about what's coming next year, the DLC, all this super huge stuff. And so to see it pushed out even further, people are just like, all right, well, we're still excited for it, but there's just really not a lot to be excited for. There's no articles being released telling us what's going to come with it, no further teases, nothing like that. Same with the Division Heartland. People and myself have been very anxiously awaiting that game or just more news on it ever since it was announced in early 2021. And in fairness, we did get a lot of information this year, specifically at Division Day when they released the cinematic intro trailer and the developer deep dive, but the closed beta was under NDA. There was no information released there. And then when they announced this further, it wasn't really a delay because they have never given the game a release date, but they just said the next update will come in 2024. That didn't give us any new info, and likely by the time we get that update next year, it will have been probably a full year since we did get that news drop back at Division Day of this year. And look, you can call me whatever you want, a shill, an optimist, I've heard it all before, but I do genuinely believe that all of these big overarching projects that the Division universe is working on, I do believe they're going to find success. I think the Division 2 has proven how unkillable it really is, right? A lot of other looter shooters would go through a 15-month content drought and then release content that has severe technical issues, and people just wouldn't play it anymore. But the Division 2 has continued to hang on, continued to bring players back update after update, and I know for a fact that this DLC next year is going to change a lot of things, and it's going to bring a lot of people back to the game yet again, probably, even more so than we've seen over this past 18 months with Year 4 and 5. The Division Heartland, while clearly it's not going to be for everyone, I continue to stand by the fact that I think it is extremely smart smart for Ubisoft to offer a Division experience in a free-to-play platform. It opens up the type of audiences that can be exposed to Division content, and I think given the quality of the nature of the Division, that is a really smart thing to do. And the Division resurgence. People are still plenty salty that we're getting a Division mobile game, but the simple fact is that if you look across the entire globe, mobile gaming is the biggest gaming market there is out there. And so to put Division on that platform just increases chances for overall revenue to the franchise. And thinking about that kind of got me back to this point because in plenty of my past videos, and I've seen other people say this plenty before, is that we always say, oh, if only Ubisoft would invest more into the Division, right? But when you think about it, they've been investing into the Division and they've been funding Division projects for over a decade now, right? Ever since they acquired Massive back in the early 2000s, so I guess it was closer to 2010. The Division was, from what I understand, in early concept at that phase, and then in the early 2010s is when it was in full development. From that point until now, the Division has continued to be funded. We've gotten new content, we've gotten a lot of things, right? And the fact is, there are many great franchises out there that simply don't get the same opportunity, even if they absolutely deserve it. So whether it's in past videos or this one, I never want to sound ungrateful for the fact that we're still getting Division content because, like I said, simple fact of the matter is a lot of franchises don't get that same opportunity, but that doesn't negate the fact that it is frustrating at the same time, especially when Ubisoft as a company has had so much financial turmoil over the past, let's say, 3 to 4 years, and they've been very public about that, right? And I think all of us Division fans have known all along that Division could be such a reliable source of income for the company, but they just don't seem to be willing to put that kind of investment back into it, at least in the same way that we had between, let's say, 2016 and 2019 when the Division 2 was in development and the Division 1 was getting all of its regular updates. Like I said before, I genuinely believe that all of these big projects for the Division are going to be successful and they are going to lead to a lot of prosperity for Ubisoft, and I do believe that this is the road to us getting a Division 3. I've talked about in a past video how, Massive is wrapping up some of its projects. I definitely do think we are going to be getting a Division 3, let's say by 2030, but every delay that we get to new Division 2 stuff, to the Division Heartland, to the Division Resurgence, it just pushes back, that inevitability because these projects just haven't yet had the opportunity to really prove to Ubisoft what we have known all along. In this kind of a business, you get back the amount that you put in. Right? Ubisoft has been putting in time, money, and resources into the Division, like I said, for over a decade now, and I'm very appreciative of that. And it's also not my millions and millions of dollars on the line, so I certainly don't want to step into their shoes and be telling them what they should do. But like I said, I think almost every Division fans know that Division could be doing so much more for the greater company. They're really just not allowing it to do so. And that's evident by the fact that Division 2 doesn't have the kind of team and resources that a game of this nature really needs to fully thrive. It's evident by the fact that the Division Heartland is taking such a long time to really get its feet under itself, and it's evident by the fact that the Division Resurgence keeps getting these little bumps back and back to now 2024. But, like I said, by the same token, there's a lot of games that would love to be in Division 2's position. There's a lot of other free-to-play games at Ubisoft, namely Ghost Recon, Frontline? That had one closed test, and it got canned, whereas the Division Heartland, at this point, they've had, dozens of these closed tests, and it's still going strong in development leading into 2024. And the Division Resurgence for a mobile game has gotten a lot of coverage and marketing by Ubisoft, which is inevitably going to help it do better once it does fully release. So the point is, we will get there. We're going to get these great things for the Division. I do genuinely believe we're going to get the Division 3 one day, but I guess the moral of the story is it sucks. It sucks to wait. I empathize with anyone who feels the same way, and I know a lot of you do, but ultimately, I think this franchise is heading to great places, and I'm going to keep sharing my excitement for that franchise that I love so much right here, and I'm just incredibly appreciative for everybody that chooses to stick along on that journey with me. But that's a bit of a look at the state of the Division universe, my friends. Very much hope you enjoyed. Just wanted to kind of have a candid conversation about that whole deal. So let me know your thoughts on it down below. What do you think of all these recent delays we're getting? What is your kind of outlook for the Division universe as a whole? And where do you see it leading us and, Ubisoft as a company over the next several years? Be very curious to hear your thoughts. That is going to do it for me today, everybody. Thank you all so much for watching. I'll see you in the next one. RogueGold. Out.